All right, we're here again. Conversations with Keith is what I've been calling it for lack of a better name. I don't even know why it needs a name, but I gave it a name. And we're continuing with the politics tilt of this. Judge David Fields has been in here. Now I have to make a disclaimer right off the bat, is that we are from the best graduating class of Pendleton County High School of all time, 1983. Judge Fields, 83 grad. I was athletic director, 83 grad.
Yep.
Darrell Pugh, principal at Northern Elementary, 83 grad. Janet Stahl-Turley is curriculum director, some big long name.
Yeah, she's got
at the or at the district office. Paul Kokendorfer for a long time was the family resource coordinator, 83 graduate. Troy Steele, the voice of the Wildcats, 83 graduate. We by far are the best graduating class of 83. You agree?
Moving right on, yeah.
Absolutely. But anyhow, just a quick question to get started. How did you go from that 83 graduate of Pendleton County High School to where you became judge executive? Kind of give everybody that path that you made.
Well, it was quite a trip, I guess you could say. I mean, I went through several things. I went right out of high school, went to Columbia Electric School in Wise Way, and I think a lot of Pendleton counties work with Wise Way. And from there, I kind of went into my heart was in welding. So and I took some additional schooling on that, and then was able to get in welding. I welded for about 15 years, and put that business ended up closing due to the owner passing away. So, and then at that time, I went to the water district, and I was there for 15 years, and spent 10 years as the assistant manager there. And in those 10 years, I just kind of I wanted to do more for the community, our county, and from the most part, and I decided to run for magistrate.
What district?
In District 4.
District 4, and that remind me what district?
That is the southern part of the county.
Okay.
Kind of takes the Morgan area and all the way around up to Lincolnburg Road.
So it includes, it's not divided by 27, it's the whole area out there.
Right, it starts usually right around the Morgan area, and it just makes a big swath all the way around the Lincolnburg Road. So that's the district.
Now, was this when the magistrates were how many when you started?
It was 4.
It was 4, so okay, all right.
Yeah, I think ran against Stacy Wells.
Okay.
And he was on the floor. So, and then from there, I served the 4 years as magistrate. Learned a lot. I mean, it was very important. I would not have taken the role of judge executive on it unless I had that. I know what it is, and even knowing the experience I got when I was a magistrate, it helped tremendously. But if I had not known those things that were on it, it would have been a real difficult thing. I wasn't saying it can't be done, but I was thankful for that experience I had as magistrate for 4 years. So.
And I've told a lot of people being athletic director, I coached 6 or 7 different sports. I coached for 20 years, was involved in all aspects of athletics, and I was not knowledgeable enough to become athletic director. Until you become athletic director, you can't understand what all it takes. And I would assume judge executive you can be a magistrate for a long time, but until you're dealing with it every day on a daily basis full time, you can't appreciate what it is.
It is. It's not a 9-to-5 job. I mean, it's as well as our meetings go well up until the evenings, and we have several of those. And it's what it takes to get through all the different issues that we got to get solved and done.
And I'm sure that there's times you get phone calls or messages in the middle of the night or on weekend. You're sitting at a dinner on a Saturday night somewhere, and there's a county emergency that comes up, and you have to deal with it.
Yeah, that kind of comes first, and of course, wife doesn't think very good. But she's good though. I mean, she does take up. She understands the job. She supports it 100%. So
and by the way, that's Darcy Smith, 1983 graduate. Just saying.
Teacher at Campbell County High School.
Yep, teacher at Campbell County. When I first became basketball coach, Jana bought a sign at the Wolf Fest that said, "We interrupt this marriage for basketball season." So you could probably appreciate, with the wife. All right, so one of the questions that I want to put down, incumbents, and you kind of already touched upon this, but incumbents always have an advantage in any race, in any position, because they have that experience of doing the job. And they understand what that job takes. So what, in your last 4 years, have you been involved in that really gives you an experience level over anybody that would have not been in that role.
Well, and of course, a lot of this comes back to the magistrate too. But in the last 4 years, I mean, it's building the relationships. Because it's important to have those relationships in the state level. Because when you're going after additional funding, you've got to be able to know who you need to go to, who you need to, keep bugging the tar out of to get additional funding. And you got to know the aspects of, just the road department. I mean, what it takes for, this or that truck or the paving, the blacktop. I mean, it's not something you can come in and just learn overnight. And like I said, with 4 years of magistrate and then 4 years of judge, that's real beneficial. And it goes with all aspects of the budget of the fiscal court. Because you get dispatch. You know what the improvements you've done. Mike Moore does an excellent job up there. He goes after grants, and we know how things have been put together in there, and we make it work, and we make it to where we can hold the cost down on the citizens that still provide the service that's required by that. So.
And the importance of grants, for those who might not know, most people do know, is if you get a grant to pay for something, that's something that you don't take taxpayer money to pay for.
Exactly.
And so it's important
right.
to go for those things.
Oh yeah, and they're out there. You have to go, and it takes a lot. And there's a lot of paperwork involved in these things. And not only Mike's went after them. Of course, Bill Mitchell, he's done a lot for the county on different things. So on grants wise, so it takes a lot of paperwork to get these grants. Get them. Occasionally there's a matching grant, but usually it's 75-25, 80-20, something like that. So but it's still, you're still getting a lot of money for just a little bit of what you're taking out of taxpayers. And with that, some of these, like on the 911 center, it don't necessarily come out of taxpayers' money. It comes out of the tax revenue from our mineral severance. That is the tax that we get off the mines. It's in the county. The state recoups that, and they give it back to us. They take half, and we get half back. So that's kind of the way they like to play ball. So, but that's that's a beneficial. It's not coming straight out of the taxpayer's coffer, but it is through that middle service that we're able to do a lot of these things. So.
Well, and to follow up on that, you had mentioned about the communication with the state department, working with the state, and how vital that is. And I know that we've covered about the Kincaid Lake State Park and those kind of things, and that's very public of how you worked with the state level and with Representative Mark Hart, among others, to get that back opened underneath a private entity. What's another example beyond that one, because we've covered that one, that communication is so vital in dealing with state and having those lines open, that brings something positive back to Pendleton County?
Well, another aspect of that is just in our roads. Because we get a county road aid every year, which back then it was decreased on us. So that's where you kind of have to go beat on doors trying to get discretionary funding for special projects. When you go after that, you have to have a road, and that money has to go toward that road. Once you submit it to the state, and that's what you're battling for. I want this funding for this road. So those relationships are good because you know exactly who to go to, and you know who to keep going with. They've switched offices up there, but I always know who's taking the place, and I can keep them on track. In the 4 years that I've been judge, I've got over $1 million in extra discretionary funding for county roads. So that's money that outside of our county road aid, and that's something if you don't stay on the ball with these things, you lose. And that's where those relationships are beneficial, so you know right where to go, you know how to do it, because there is paperwork involved in that, and that's something that I do in my office. More paperwork, but that's that's something that has to be submitted, and it has to be done right, or you lose.
And you joke about the paperwork, but having been obviously involved in the school district, I think a lot of people in the private industry may not realize how much government paperwork there is, that they say, all you do is spend a day in office. Well, there's so much paperwork that's required at different levels that you just have to sit down and do paperwork.
That's it. Yeah.
And that's just one part of the job that has to be done to be able to get things back.
Yeah, and I think when you kind of agree on this thing, through the day, a lot of times you don't get anything done that you go in for. I mean, there's been many days that I go in and I say, well, I'm going to get this knocked out, get it out of my way so I can move on to something else. When I get in, I've not even touched it for the day. So a lot of times just spent that after evening hours, you know, when everybody's gone and it's quiet, the phones are quiet, so that's when you can actually get more things accomplished. And
Yeah.
so it takes additional hours, but you know, that's all part of it. So.
Monday when I left here, I had a couple things I wanted to do Tuesday, and Tuesday morning, woke up to the flood situation, canceled it all. And said, I gotta go cover the flood story. So I spent the entire morning, instead of doing those things I had planned on doing, have rescheduled them later this week so I could go to these roads that were covered and take pictures. And yeah, and people stop to see you all the time.
Yeah.
Some of them are employees, some of them are people in the county that want to talk to you about things. Well, you know, we talked about roads and everything like this, and me and you've had numerous conversations on this next subject. And on our Facebook post, we asked residents to put what are the things that you're interested in. Several people talk about internet speed. And like I said, me and you have had numerous conversations about this. In my view, no matter who's in that seat, that's a topic that a judge exec should touch upon every single day, because it's so vital to where this county's going. We've talked about in the past, there are business owners here who have to get up in the middle of the night and do business work because the speed is too slow during the day. I've shared an example that when I was Blue 1, my son couldn't do his college online class. He actually had to drive to Gateway, where he was taking classes, to do his online class because he couldn't do it. Now I'm up to, I think it's my speed is 5 times faster with Cincinnati Bell. It's still not where a lot of other people are at and those kind of things, but it is much faster than when I had Blue 1. You know, we've talked about there's people who work from home and go over to McDonald's and the library, and they, instead of having to drive Cincinnati, they work there. So the question is, during your last 4 years, and it's a two-part question, last 4 years, what have you done to move Pendleton County towards a faster speed? What is your plan for the next 4 years, if you're elected, to continue that movement to where, my wife brought up a point last night as we were talking about this. Pendleton County school districts are constantly losing students. And she wondered if that part of people not wanting to move out here is because of speed of the internet, if that feeds into it. And I shared a story with you that somebody I know selling their house got a phone call from somebody in northern Kentucky, asked about the speed. They told them what speed, and they said, I won't even come and look at it. So that was kind of fit with what she said. Are we losing people we want to move to this county because of this? So, there's a lot to there.
Yeah, it's like, okay, where we started. As you know, Pendleton County never really, when the internet even became the internet, and Pendleton County never did get brought up to good broadband. I mean, it just didn't have the speed back then, and then more people got on it, the slower everything ran. I think it was in 2016 that Cincinnati Bell, well, Kentucky Ward, I mean, they came up with, getting the whole state ward. Well, they contracted with Cincinnati Bell, which they've done, and I think with other big phone providers throughout the state. And they got Cincinnati Bell to run a fiber optic wire down 27, and it's going to serve mostly the governmental offices. That's what they put it in for Kentucky Ward for, and it's going to take the courthouse, Justice Center, Ria's, and John's office. It's basically, and then eventually it's going to be hooked into the schools, and which will give them better. But that's at a later point. That's their doing. We don't have any control of that. Well, Cincinnati Bell, at that time, they took advantage of this.
Jesse, can you turn that off? The blower. Sorry.
While they were, no, it's fine. While they were running the mark for that, and they got an additional mark for themselves, and that's where they could build out their own and go ahead and start. Because actually the fiber optics that they paying for anymore is not even live yet. Yeah. It's not. In which they're starting to build out on the eastern side of the city here in the county. And we'll take it on down to eastern Kentucky. I lost my train of thought.
Well,
but where we're at now is, I did get a report. We're right at around 2,400 customers right now. That's after doors.
Okay. And that's Cincinnati Bell.
Cincinnati Bell. They sent them out at 24. I just did get that report. In the third and fourth quarter, for this year, and first quarter of next year, I'm sorry.
Okay.
They are looking at least an additional 900 doors.
Okay.
And also with that, they're going into the city of Butler. Well, that's going to be, I think it's going to be 75 doors together in the Butler area.
Is that in the 900 or is that in two?
No, that's additional to the 900.
Okay.
So that's different roads. The 900 is going to be different roads.
Okay.
So those are, that's what's coming in first quarter. It took a while to get all this going, but it's just like me. I want you to invest in what you need capital, and they need capital. So they're not going to, they can't keep running at it. We did go in with them and was able to sign with them on a franchise agreement that got them $800,000 in grant from the federal to help go out into more rural areas. And that's helped. I mean, we got fiber optics in Mechanicsburg. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
And so it's kind of getting it out there. And their plan is to have everything complete by 2020.
2020.
That is the plan. Now, there's
Now, what speed is that? Like,
it's gonna
like
be
these
different.
900s?
It's going to be different speeds because on some areas they're going to use some copper wire. They're going to build the fiber, but they're going to use the existing copper wire going to the house. But when you go to that, it decreases the speed.
And that's what I have. They have fiber that's possibly maybe from my office or from here up to the post office. They have a box that has fiber optics. And they're running it down 159. Well, they use my old copper phone line that I installed in 1997 to run it back to my house. And like you said, so that's why I can't get the total fast speed, but I could get faster than I was getting with a little dish that pointed to the. It's funny because I live by Kincaid, and my dish that I pulled from a blue one, the water tower in City of Butler.
Oh, no good.
Yeah, that was the clean view that I had all the way to that water tower.
Well, I guess it's not the only one. I mean, other than Mount Auburn, I think it's the only one he's on.
Yeah, and of course I don't have a clean view to Mount Auburn at all.
Yeah.
So.
So yeah, that's kind of where.
So the speed package will be just like anything else as far as a customer.
Yeah.
Cincinnati Bell will probably have several packages and choices that you will get to choose from, and people will have to
And it's going to
decide.
be based on the speed that it's available to you. And,
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to watch TV on a low speed line. But the reason they could have just went through and done the basics of it and put the fiber down here and use their existing copper wires. But just like we are now, the more people you add onto that, the slower it's going to be. So the further they can get the fiber out, that's going to maintain the faster speed. So they're losing when they go into the the service lines like at your house, but but their main line they're trying to get the fiber. That's their goal because they don't want to. They put it out there now, and a few more years later, because it's going to be decrease in speed, they're going to be back out there doing it again. So if they do it now, it's slower, yes, getting the job done, but I think they're making their best. But and we stay on aggravated tire items.
Yeah. So they're telling you by the end of 2020, so about 2 years from now, the entire county will have options.
Yeah.
I'm assuming all those options would be significantly greater than what somebody could get now through Blue One, or less cheaper than the Hughes satellite network.
There was even a portion of this to where, now, I don't know, I haven't gone back with them on this part, but when they first came to me, there was a portion of it to where they were thinking about putting the wireless just like Blue One. They could provide faster service just to that, but it all goes back to Clear Vision, just like what yours is.
Yeah.
They thought that could be a portion, if they didn't have the the means to run it and everything, that could be an option they could do too. But they never really elaborated too much on that one. That's just an option that they discussed at the time. So,
Gotcha.
So basically, all this is going to be on availability of funds. I mean, that is their goal to have it. And they, like I said, they're 2,400 now. So I figured it's probably roughly about between 6,000 and 7,000 houses
In the county?
something like that. We'd have to get different job, but I'm
Yeah.
thinking that's roughly about it. Could be totally wrong on that one.
I'm trying to, I just interviewed him last week, and I'm trying to recall if we talked about that number, and I think we did, but I don't remember what it was.
So, you kind of get where we're going to, but then, I mean, this, but just like in this third and fourth and first quarter coming up, I mean, you're almost at another 1,000 customers right there.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's gonna put you at 3. So
Well, you said they have 2,400 already.
yeah.
So they're almost a third of, or even way over a third.
Yeah.
Maybe about 40% or something.
It could be
It's going to increase, yeah. And you know this well, and I've been but to me, this is the issue for Pendleton County, because so much of the business and the economic progress is going to be based upon internet and what businesses can do. Heck, what we do as far as uploading and sending things, and I have several family members who work from home, or have that option to work from home because they live right on 27.
Right.
If they lived out where I live, they probably wouldn't have that option to work from home, so now they're driving.
Right.
We lost Alex Carson, a great guy, moved up closer to be closer to his job, and we need, John Steele, one of the things he talked about in here was making sure that we're keeping this community as a bedroom community where people want to move here.
Right.
We're never going to have all the businesses that Northern Kentucky's going to have just because of the interstates and those kind of things.
Well, I agree. The majority of the citizens in the county want to keep it its rural heritage. That is, that's my base. We want a little bit of growth, but we don't want it to overtake us.
I would agree with that.
And it's and it's part of planning. Because we're looking at some additional company industrial sites that's on the eastern part of the county. Where the road's going to handle it. So it's not going to affect too much, but we'll have that benefit of that.
Well, and that's a good segue into one of the questions we talked about jobs. People had talked about and asked the question that we need more jobs in this community. Heck, since we've been in high school, they've talked about wanting to bring big factories in here, and it's never really happened to the level that they've talked about. We've got Hammer Strength, which is a great business partner in this community, really serves it. But I've listened to it while I was a teacher, while I was a student. What are the realistic chances of bringing strong jobs here, and how many are we talking about that we can realistically look at bringing that? Bill, when I was at that fiscal court caucus meeting, Bill Mitchell talked about good jobs that paid $18, $20, $22 an hour. So that's kind of, when I asked that question, those are the jobs I'm looking at, not the places that can come in and pay $13, $15 an hour and that's it.
Right. Well, back when I took office in 15, after I got up through the initial shock and everything, about mid-year, I wanted to go out, wanted to start on bringing it, but my thinking is we got to take care of what we got first. And we've got companies now that don't have the employees, or can't get the employees, or can't keep them. So I think it really comes down to we need to figure out some way of training our citizens. And I have done a little bit. I won't touch on that in a minute. But, we have several companies. Hammer for one, great company to work for. They're active in the community, but they're needing employees. But it's holding on to them. I'm the ones that really want to work. Soft skills is a big thing. In everyone that I went to in interviewing the company, soft skills was the number one thing. It just, they didn't have any.
What do you mean by soft skills?
Well, being work on time. Coming in when you want to. I don't feel like going in today, sometimes I don't. That's what they're dealing with. And they just, I'm not saying everybody, but the ones they deal with is, they have them down and say, I work when I feel like it. If I don't feel like I'm not going to. Well, you can't run a company like that, you know that. So that's important. And just basically being on time. That is the biggest thing that I've heard.
And these are from business leaders in this county.
Right now.
This is not anything David Fields is saying. These are what the business leaders are telling you is going on with the employees that they're trying to get.
Exactly right. And then that we took and we wanted to find out how can we help them get better employees, or get employees. So at the time, there was a need for welders. JG still need welders.
What does a welder pay?
It varies. It can be anywhere from $10 to $18 an hour. On your experience, how much you know, because there's so many different facets of it. Stick welding, TIG welding. Of course, that's the field that I was in. It's not familiar with. So that's where, I'm just kind of going this a little bit, and we found, well, if we could provide a little bit of training, would that help? She said, well, I was talking to she at that point. She said, yeah, if you could get them the basic information, basic skills, then we can train them the way we want them to do.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. We designed the class. And it was a Saturday class. It was a 45-hour class, and they would go on Saturdays. And through this, I think it was like a 2-month process that we could get the hours.
So somebody who had a career somewhere else but was looking to upgrade could still go through it on a Saturday for these 45 hours, so many hours each Saturday, and then get the program and then look for possibly a job there.
Yeah, and that was the whole deal on it. You had people in their mid-20s. That was $80 job before you were pushing 18 or 2008. But then I got to looking too, and this is something when we was in high school, vocational school. You had to make a selection. You had to be selected to go to vocational school. Well, I got to thinking, well, what if that person didn't make that selection? And they didn't go to college. So what are we going to do? This would be perfect for them. And we did have those individuals. In the first year, we had 13 from the county, and we finished out the class at 18 and something. Pendleton County residents. It was at the technical school there in Pendleton County. And in 17, we had 8 from the county, and I know that several of them had that to JG or like that.
So for some of them, do you know approximately how many of them that it was a program that helped them transition to a career, not a job, to a career?
Well, I don't know what to do. I know I followed up with them a year later on the ones that I knew, and then see how they are pursuing, but they hadn't went into it once. There had been some that actually went into it and was still in it, but I don't know how far they went. I'm not sure where they're at now, but that's something we want to continue doing. But it looks we're going to have to find some other areas and getting some additional training.
Okay.
Well, hamstring, what we can do there.
And that was going to be my follow-up question: is in talking to the business leaders, the soft skills, JG specifically with the welding. Have they indicated other areas that the students are not, or the residents are not trained, that maybe you take the successful program that you did with welding and do it in somewhere else, whether it's computer repair, computer technology, whatever, I don't know. But have they told you anything else?
That was the basics of it. A hammer, I think it's just the awareness for it. I really do. Of course, it's not unknown. It's the drug issue that kind of holds us back on some of these placements. So that's where, when we go to looking for bringing in new business, if we can't fill the jobs we got right now, where are we going to get employees for new business? Yeah. So they're going to look at all these things. I mean, they look at every little thing, like schools, they can look on how many, some of them even look how many churches we have in the county.
That's what I heard.
And that's probably based on how the community gets along.
Yeah.
So that's it. So we are researching some different land, like I said, I want to go that way, and I think we're going to be trying to move forward on that in the coming months.
And for those of you wondering, there's an article a couple weeks back, I forget when it ran exactly, but within the last month, that I believe you all had it was a front page story, picture of you all looking at a map, and talking about that, and it talked about that piece of property over in northeast Pendleton County, looking at what water, sewage are the most important aspects that a industrial site looks to. We know we can never get gas in that regard because it was just going to be too expensive.
Right. And that's the unless the company wanted to get it there, that would be their option. Basically, it's given them a good site to build on with good access to decent roads. And it's a perfect spot over there where actually it's located perfect. It could not be better. If we are able to attract a company, we want to employ our citizens first and foremost. That's the number one thing. But if we don't have enough, we can pull from Campbell, we can pull from Bracken, we can pull from this. So it's all down the double. So it's easy access for anybody who gets to it, but they won't get right into the county. First and foremost, I want to get people come to the employees.
And if you take empty piece of property and you renovate it or however, whatever the correct word is, into an industrial park, you're creating a tax base that can also pay for things for you all and for the school. We took a baseball trip to Gatlinburg and played in a tournament, and the parents were talking about what wonderful facilities they had. Why couldn't we get that? And I pointed, it was actually in Pigeon Forge, I pointed to all the outlet malls. I said, you know how much tax money those businesses are paying to provide for these kind of things? So you can pay better for the 911 updates and the emergency services and the roads and the internet because you have a stronger tax base.
Right. And that's what it's all about. I mean, once you get something in there, more people will start moving in, and that's how you down your tax rate low. I mean, the more people get moving in there, bigger the houses, and then there's assessments on them. So.
Well, and actually, and I'll go right back to the thing that I already mentioned that, those people with the nice homes are going to want nice speed on the internet and those kind of things so that they can do work at home and that kind of stuff. So it all really relies on each other to really progress Pendleton County. But you mentioned about the tax rates and that kind of thing. Let's talk about the budget over the last 4 years, kind of things that have occurred or where you've spent money, how you all move things around. Tax rates, I know in the story we ran the other day about tax rates, they're pretty much staying the same except for a couple areas that had some small decreases in it. But in an area, in a time when we see tax rates going up all over the place, tell us about how you all were able to keep tax rates at least level with a small decrease in a couple areas.
Well, and I'm going to go back to 2015, but I mean, a lot of people didn't get to see these kind of things, but, it hit me by March of 2015, 3 months into, office. I knew when I took office, if I won, that there was going to be a reduction in our mineral severance. And that was due because
in what mineral severance?
Mineral severance.
And just to cover that one more time, the state collects taxes from the mineral companies.
From the farm use and hilltop.
Yes.
That's for the stone to come in. That's a tax that they have to pay on.
Because they're using up raw materials that the state owns, and so they tax that. The state keeps half of it, and half of it's sent to Pendleton County.
Right.
Okay, I'm sorry. Just wanted to make sure they
there's
understood.
restrictions on how we have to spend it. We just can't spend it on anything, emergency services, roads, just to name a few.
Why was there going to be a reduction? You said that you knew that there was going to be a reduction.
What it is, the companies, they found a way that they said, well, we paid too much in taxes. It came back to that they should have had to pay for the tax where it was actually ground out underground to the opening where it comes up out of the mine. So they said, we need to deduct that much. So they said, well, you try. So anyway, we lost about $358,000. Yeah,
Wow.
that
Yearly.
was a big chunk.
Yearly.
No, well, that's how much yearly we probably get roughly about anywhere from $350,000 to $400,000. That's all we usually get from that.
Okay.
So
No, I'm saying when you lost $350,000, was that a per year lost?
Yeah, that had to be paid back to them before we could collect any more.
Oh, lovely.
So anything that they got the deduction, we just didn't receive anything. We wasn't getting anything until the latter part of 2015. I think in the last quarter, I think we got $40,000.
Wow.
So when I come in the office, and I knew I was facing that, but then again, because that's back when the tax on the gas tax, the floor rate where they was going, in the session up there, I'm trying to get the floor tax stopped and where it would hold the funding on. Well, we lost out of that. I had to look at it. I can't. I don't want to be right. I think it was right at $200,000 and on the road fund. So I'm coming in the office and I've already lost almost between $500,000 and $600,000 in revenue. Good heavens.
No wonder Henry said, I'm out of here.
So, that kind of made me worried, and I said, I decided, here I am, first year in office, and I'm going to have to raise the taxes. And I said, that is the last thing that I want to do. But, we was able to get some good department heads, Reddy, he took over the road department, and of course, we are Bill still, it's been a great thing too. He did pretty well. I said, well, guys, we're going to tighten up the belts. We're going to make it do this. We're not going to raise taxes. So we did. we just went down to the bare bones and we made it through, and that's pretty well what it is. I'm a firm believer. I'm going to make sure, before I go asking for more money, I'm going to make sure that every little bit of it that I've got is spent wisely and used wisely. So that's why we've been able to hold down the taxes. And I've been good with the physical court. They've been going the same way. So we work together, and that's a good thing. Is having that physical court and work together for these kind of things too. So.
Well, now of course we know, and we've talked about, and I covered it all over the place about the pensions. And that was an area that was just going to affect you all negatively, but hopefully that's taken care of. Frankfurt's still got some things that they're working on with this Supreme Court case and all those kind of things. Beyond the pensions, because we still don't know exactly what's going to happen there, are there some things in the horizon that gives you some concern about how the financial, not just Pendleton County, but maybe each counties are going to be facing, especially rural counties, that don't have that tax base like a Campbell County does with all the businesses and those kind of things?
I think really, the road fund, it kind of holds its own. It's been able to do, we'll be able to find some new equipment through that. But, that first couple of years when in office, like I said, we had to kind of cut back on everything. But we've still been able to buy some new equipment. So that's kind of making improvements there. I still worry about our dispatch center because of the landline fees. Back when that was first established, the county was getting close to in between about $14,000, $15,000 a month. Now we get full.
And that's from,
Telephone service.
but it's landline. So as people are cutting their landlines, you're losing funds in the fiscal court budget because you're not getting as much. So you say it dropped from 14 to 4?
$14,000 a month.
Okay, a month. So that's $120,000 a year that you've got to make up from somewhere else.
Yeah,
Or you cut.
Well, we pull out the general fund. That's that's more money that we could be using elsewhere. But that's one of our duties as elected officials is the safety and welfare of the citizens of the county. So the dispatch, there's things, but the service they do and the amount of money, especially the grant money that we put into our dispatch, we're like the top 4 in the state where ours is at right now. I think Campbell County and the 3 northern counties, they're going to get into the business. Pretty good side of them right now. But, we're pretty proud of what it's done. So that's an increase in the cost. And of course, health insurance is always something that's constantly on the rise. But we provide for the employees, we pay the family, which it's, I don't know. The healthcare just needs a total revamp. I don't know. It just seems like it's going haywire.
And that's the way you keep good employees is by providing those strong benefits that they don't have to look somewhere else.
Because we can't pay them the wage what they could do on more than that. But they want to work in the county, so that's how we hold them. I'm not saying hold them, but we give them that benefit. That's a benefit we can give them, like you saying. So, of course, retirement fund. The pension on that. They pushed it down to 10 years. 10 years was based on that. But at the end of that 10 years, we're still looking at an additional $200,000. If it went in today, it's $200,000. So but they did from 10 years. So somehow or another, we're going to have to figure out at the end of 10 years how that money's going to come about. So we have to start planning now, so it's not a shock back then. So and we're trying to make some adjustments at that point.
Well, and obviously one of the other issues, you've kind of mentioned it a couple times, is the growing drug issue. Mm-hmm. I walked over earlier today over at BP to get a drink, and a lady was asking me if a police officer was in because she found a needle right over here by BP, and wanted a police officer to come to deal with it. It's not a Pendleton County issue, it's a nationwide issue. I was struck during the presidential debate when Trump was speaking in Delaware and talking about the issues with drugs that Delaware was having. Mm-hmm. And that just struck me at this time that while people want to say, oh, it's a Pendleton County thing, no, it's not. No. It's everywhere. And this question is about ready to be an unfair question because everybody has to deal with it, but everybody wants to know what this position. And the sheriffs are going to get obviously the same question. Right. It's a nationwide epidemic of issues. but they want to know what you're going to do in Pendleton County to solve a problem the nation is facing. So that's why I said it's a little bit of an unfair question.
Well, it's a good question to ask. I mean, and you know, some of the questions, you know, I sometimes ask people when they ask me, you know, I said, well, you know, the federal government can't figure out how to fix it. How am I going to do it? You know, but things and steps that we have taken is if you already like a litigation lawsuit that's kind of going. I can't say too much about it, but we're kind of going after some of the drug companies, and but, you know, they are. We just kind of went into this suit with them.
And this is a suit that the Attorney General Brashear,
he's part of it too,
but
that it's the same thing. That,
Yeah.
you know, the reason we was able to get into it, and you can look at it, if we hadn't went into it as a county, and this Brashear went into it, well, he would pull it back and the state would administer whichever. But now, since we were up front and got in on a breaking door, if there is anything that comes back, then we get to deal with it, and we use it the way we see fit. We don't have to go. But still, you know, if he's still able to get some too, then we'll still be entitled to that also.
and if I've read right and I remember right, the lawsuit is against the companies who have made opioids.
Yeah. Okay.
And dealing with them and what they've created. Not obviously, it's not the illegal drugs, but it is the prescription drugs that a lot of people are saying that they're getting addicted to. Then the prescription's gone, and so they go to this other
That's
method.
the one step on. They get hooked on the pain pills, which, you know, automatically goes into the heroin and things like that. It is the drug manufacturers, plus there's another branch, and I cannot remember the word for that, but they're supposed to have been the overseers of this, so that these drug companies isn't sending, you know, 20,000 things to a town of 200 people, and it was happening.
Yeah.
I mean, and they were supposed to be overseeing this kind of thing. So, you know, long story short, I don't know where it's all going to go into. I just get bits and pieces, and that's why I can't say too much about it, because you know, that's what it is. But that could be, you know, a way that would assist us in some of the treatment and that. But I still think, you know, we work with Northern Kentucky as much as we can. We're battling it too, referring people for treatment. We can get a hold of it. I know that, you know, it's been a little bit controversial with this syringe change at the health department. But, you know, actually we reached out, they've been able to catch a few, you get them in, you'll be able to talk with them, and they've been able to get some treatment that way, so.
And that's a good segue. Well, because the position serves as a member of the board of directors of the health department, is that the term? Board of directors? The judge exec,
yes.
The judge exec position serves on the board of directors for the health department.
District Health Board.
District Health Board. I didn't think it was called board of directors, but I didn't know what it was called.
That's good.
What was that mindset behind the needle exchange program, of making that determination to do that?
When it was presented to us, you know, not only was it a drug issue, but then it was becoming a health issue, because we got hepatitis C. That was the main reason, because at that point, in Indiana, you can remember the county that was over in Indiana, they were just taking over the county.
Hepatitis C.
Yeah, and it was growing. They'd seen increased cases in Northern Kentucky, so you could pretty well see that it's coming.
Mm-hmm.
So you better take some of your actions to try to deter this. And the number one cause was needle sharing, and that was the number one cause. And so that was the initial reason. You know, it was a health reason, because then, you know, once, you know, this person, you know, they get it from the needle, but the next person, you know, they simple and blood. You know, that's where they be transmitted that way too. So that's where that came about. And of course, it's not a cost to the county. All of that's funded by you know, funding agency.
Oh, is it?
So,
Okay.
So it's not a cost. It's not on the health department. They have a cost because there is one person that, you know, that takes it on. But you know,
I might know that one person.
it could be. But you know, they do good, and she's passionate about what she does. She knows the value in it. So I think it's one way we're reaching some of them that, you know, maybe even when they go there, they're not thinking about treatment, but when they're going, they are thinking about it. So,
Yeah.
And it has worked out where we've been able to get something there. So
So beyond the lawsuits and those kind of things, are there anything else that you're looking to And like I said, I know this is an unfair question because it's a problem. And to be honest with you, if you have the solution, don't be Judge Exec. Sell that solution to all these other, and you're gonna be a billionaire.
Exactly right.
But people want to know, what if anything can be done to help out immediately on these people? And I don't know what the answer is. I'll say that right off the bat.
Well, my biggest thing is at this point is Christian Bay.
Okay.
I think that's going to be the, if you can get them into that. I mean, that's proven that it's worked. Christian Bank treatment, even if you just get them in the church, or if you just create a relationship with them. And a lot of times you can go to that. But that's at this point, that's the best I've got, other than, strengthening law enforcement. And, that's something we always try to look at doing too. But, it's a more cost and all that too. So.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And I think that, just to comment, our courts are full. I mean, so we are making a headway into it, but it's just it's a constant thing.
Gotcha. One other issue that has been a hot button topic over the last 3 or 4 months that you all have had many discussions on, and it's a twofold question, is obviously you're in the 1-year contract providing the 2 SROs. What do you see as the future of that program? What would you like to see it morph into? And then what's your thoughts upon, the school's kind of backed off, or the school board, let's say, has backed off the program of arming teachers. But I'll go ahead and throw that question out there as a part of that. What's kind of your thoughts of arming, of teachers having guns?
Well, like I said, we were presented here early on about sending something about urging the school board to make this decision. And I think, I'm not going to speak for the rest of the court, but they're elected to sit on that school board. They make the decision that's on the best knowledge that they get, same as we do on the court. I'm not going to stick my nose into something they need to be doing.
You've got enough of your own business to stick
we're always here. I mean, we always try to be communicate with them and help where we're needed to.
Yeah.
But as far as putting something out there to saying, you need to do this, I kind of withdraw from that. As far as the school resource officers, I think this is a positive thing that they're going through. And after we look at this first year, it's a new thing, so we got to look and see how this first year goes. A part of me still feels that it would be better served if they created their own department. I've done a little research on that when it was first brought up, and I can see how it can be done. It could be positive, and it's going to be able to open them up to getting more grants. They can go out for COP grants, and, but that still needs more research done on. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that's the way it needs to be done, because we still don't know how the rest of this is going to work out for the year. So.
And this is another one of those subjects. It's a nationwide problem.
Yes.
It's not a Pendleton County-wide problem.
Exactly.
It's a nationwide issue that leaders are searching for answers for. So but at the same time, just like the drug issue, we want to know what our officials and what our elected official and then our superintendent is doing to make sure our kids are safe.
Right.
So
I think they made some improvements in the school entrance. I think there's a double.
Yes. There's a camera outside, like at the high school level. Used to be able to go in the one set of doors at almost all the buildings. Then there was they would actually wasn't even camera. They could see you and then they would buzz you in. Okay. Now you're on a camera, because like an idiot, the first time I went up there, I thought the camera was the button. I kept on pressing the lens and it wasn't moving. Then I saw the button down below it. And
there you go.
I felt really stupid.
There we go.
So, one kind of final question to sum all this up, and Sam and I were talking about questions this morning, and he offered this question, which is a great question for everybody that sits in the seat, which I thought was a very good question. If you looked back over your administration, 4 years, and you were to assess your administration, what's one area that you learned from, because you sit there and go, I can do this better? And from that assessment, an example of when you did do it better.
Well, that is well, I'm really, it's hard to determine. Because there's just been so many little things that, that's happened.
And maybe it's not a specific thing. Maybe it's a daily thing that you do. Maybe it's a way you address things. It doesn't have to be a certain issue. Just something that you know you've grown on over the past 4 years.
Well, and I think that something that we're already doing, and I think it's been a plus for us. We this last year I started having a meeting with all the department heads. And it's been a benefit because it was kind of hard keeping the ladies in the office and with the road department, the dispatch center, and solid waste, because everybody's busy and everybody's running all over. So we take that first Wednesday of the month. It's our schedule. Sometimes we've had to move it to the second one and whatnot, but that brought everybody together so everybody knows what the right end left end is doing.
Gotcha.
So that's been good. I mean, it has been, but that's one of those things as you learn, as you're going into these things. Because you just can't go in and think, well, this is going to make everything better. So, and I'm tickled with what that's going to be.
With what you said earlier, I think you'll identify with this. After my first year of athletic director, everybody said, I guess the second year will be easier. And I said, actually not, it'll be harder because the past year I didn't know what I didn't know. I said, now I know what I'm supposed to be doing. Beforehand, I was just kind of surviving and reacting, and there wasn't a lot of planning because I just didn't know. But now I knew, and I knew it was coming up, and it was much harder the second each year past that than it was that first year. Just like you said, when you got into it the first 6 months, and you were just like, woo!
Yeah.
This is a major task here.
Right.
Yeah.
It is.
Well, anything else you want to add? Anything else you wanted to say?
No, I mean it's been going. I think we've done really good. I'm proud of the 4 years and we've done. We made some progress, and I think we've still got things to do. I've been going after a lot of extra stuff, and I've got plans of even going after more. It's when you learn something, you go after the next thing. You just can't. That's the way with this job. I mean, once you got this, you got to go after the next thing because you got to stay ahead. And it's what takes in this job. So.
All right.